What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel here from the GeekSpeakNation channel, and today we're talking about Cyberpunk 2077, and the reviews are in, and this is a interesting scenario because the reviews call into question some very interesting things about journalistic integrity and access journalism and gaming. Very fun topics. Like I said, this game continues to be an amazing case study that does not stop giving, and seeing how this game is treated in the media and by consumers and how they react to it. It's very interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. Very fascinating. Regardless. So generally the consensus of the day one, or at the time of recording this, the day one reviews of that have been released for the people who felt comfortable releasing their reviews, or people who actually were able to get copies, is that generally the game's good. It's a good game. Even for the most harshest of critiques, you know, the GameSpot review or other one that was kind of harsh as well. For those who genuinely weren't too hot on the game, not necessarily didn't like it, but weren't impressed by what they played, even still, they said that the game is enjoyable and the story, the core of the experience is very solid and very impressive in certain ways, especially in the side quests. And that the main characters are very enjoyable, which is okay. That's pretty good. That's a good thing to know. Now, whether or not this is the groundbreaking video game that, you know, that the fans have built it up to be, and some parts of CD Projekt Red's marketing have built it up to be, like this transcendent experience and how we view RPGs and all that stuff, and an open world and yada, yada, yada. That's still to be decided. You know, we need more reviews. We need more analysis, you know, actual critical analysis of the game, not just a brief, well, we beat the game, this is our thoughts. So that's kind of where the things stand with the game right now, and the overall consensus of, is the game good or not? Yes or no? Yes, the game's good. Level to the hype? For the most part, yes, from what we've seen. But there's a lot of issues with these reviews. So to break down how these reviews were done, I have a little bit of notes here. The way that they were set up is that essentially the people who got copies only had around 3 to 7 days. They only had a PC copy of the game with no patches, or one mid-review time patch that they were able to get that is part of the day 0 patch, not to be confused with the day 1 patch. And all of the B-roll that people recorded for their reviews is not allowed to be put out until the embargo, until the day the game releases. Then people can release their footage of what the game actually looks like. But instead, they have to use CD Projekt Red's marketing material. I'm not gonna call it B-roll, that's marketing material. This is absolutely insane. Now, I can already hear the keyboard warriors typing, trying to defend the game.
Are you serious? Access journalism has acted this way for 30 years in the gaming industry. Alright? If you want to review a game, you have to do the way they say it.
That's fair. That doesn't mean you don't get to call it out on its BS, and especially when things are obviously anti-consumer. And I know that's a strong word, especially, you know, directing that towards CD Projekt Red, which in the eyes of its fan base is the unsullied savior of gaming and humanity in and of itself. But this practice is anti-consumer. They do not want people to see any of the bugs that are mentioned in literally every single review, or show you the state that console games are in, because they're not ready and they're not finished after all this time. And now here's the thing. There's a difference between imperfect and unfinished, right? A good example for me this year was Assassin's Creed Valhalla. That game is currently imperfect. There's a couple of glitches that I had. I had 2 main glitches from when I first acquired the game, which was actually a few weeks after it launched, or a week or 2 after it launched, where I had like a patch of Eivor's hair was missing on a specific hairstyle, and I was getting some really bad screen tearing and anti-aliasing issues weren't working. But after a patch that they released the week after, everything was fine. I would consider that imperfect, but you know, you wish those bugs weren't there, but they were there and they got resolved. very quickly, which is good. An unfinished game is something like, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, which is a game that I bought about 2 weeks ago and played it for a week and then returned it digitally to the PlayStation Network because the game kept crashing on every single game mode. It kept crashing on, zombies, whether I was playing multiplayer. Like, there was something wrong with every single game mode and made the game completely unplayable. Or Marvel's Avengers. Missing content, missing the missions, in-game missions and rewards, and everything was messed up at the end of that game. That was a complete debacle. Those are truly unfinished products. And I think from what I'm hearing from every single person who's had to review this game, this is genuinely towards the side of being unfinished, not imperfect to a certain regard. Because a lot of these issues aren't going to be swept away in this day zero, day one patch, as many of the fervent zealots of CDPR would like you to believe. This is not going to be brushed under the rug, especially a lot of the issues that they're talking about that are critical issues with UI, with save files, with textures, with certain pop-ins, and the floating weapons that can be resolved very easily. But there's a lot of issues technically in this game, and the fact that they had to mention it as a part of every single review, that every single review went out of its way to mention the bugs, not in a casual, hey, I ran into my host of technical issues like this and that. Like, people are dedicating sections of their reviews to all the bugs that they endured during their experience. And the fact that they can't show us any of it is alarming. It truly is alarming. And it just calls into question the integrity of the whole entire process of reviewing games, right? Where the company gets to dictate what does and does not happen. And you just hope that the company is being generally favorable to the consumer in what information they are not allowing to get out there. Because obviously you don't want to give somebody access, if you have a product, you don't want to give somebody's access to it who would possibly damage your reputation or damage your overall image of your property, because they give an unfavorable review. And that's just how it goes, What do you think? Bethesda blacklists almost every single YouTuber out there, and then why they don't give review copies to outlets anymore? It's because they would rather just go off of the blind hype of the fan base and not have people actually critically look at how terribly optimized their games are and how buggy they are. And the fact that this game is being compared to Skyrim is not a good thing in the regards of the bugs at all whatsoever. And I get it. I totally get it. Some people are like, look, that does not matter to me. I will power through the bugs because I have been waiting on this game for 8 years. And that's completely fair, because that is what you are choosing to do as a consumer. And that's perfectly fine. But it's just, I think we all need to step back and take a critical look at the development of this game and realize that, yes, even though at the end of the day we are going to be getting a good game, and CD Projekt Red does have a track record, like with The Witcher 3, of eventually, around 6 months or so, cleaning up most of the issues and hosts of bugs that a lot of their games have by the end of it. Even though they have that track record of fixing things, the game should not have been released in the state that it was. When they chose to delay it from November to December, they should have delayed it from 2021 from what it seems. Maybe, first week of January or something like that. But this game needed more time. And when you look at this whole entire development of this game from a critical lens, you see the alarming signs that this game is not ready. This game is not ready. Why do you think I kept bringing up the console gameplay over all of these months? Because that shows where your priorities truly lie. Sure, you can make a beautiful vertical slice of a game and put out a 40-minute video of a presentation and say, wow, look how great our game is and look at these features that are inside of it. However, at the end of the day, there's still no guarantee that it's going to be in there. And on top of that, we still don't know how it looks like running on actual hardware that it was promised on when the game was first announced 8 years ago. To me, this just shows that somebody made a mistake at CD Projekt Red. Somebody got too ambitious and said, you know what, let's keep adding this, let's keep adding this, let's keep adding this. And then eventually over the years, it got to a certain point where they're like, oh, things aren't working when we're trying to make it work. Let's get rid of this, let's get rid of this, let's get rid of that. Okay, let's pick up the pace. Can we optimize this? Can we make sure this works? And that's where the experience, from what it seems like, has devolved to. And that's why there's been a constant state of crunch, which for some reason, there are crunch deniers out there about the severity of what the crunch is like in the studio, but okay. You don't crunch for a year because things are going well on a game. All right. I don't know. It's absolutely insane to me, the backflips in logic that people are making in order to validate the state that this game is going to be released in. All right, and how anti-consumer this pre-release is, in order to make sure that people stay as blind as possible to the issues that they're going to run into on launch day. And that's just what it is. It's just what it is. And look, people who want to love this game are automatically going to love this game regardless, because no matter what they experience in this game, they are going to trick their brains into validating every single thing that they see and accepting it. And you know what? That's fine. That's fair. That's how it is. But I think generally as consumers, we just have to sit back and question the integrity of gaming journalism and the integrity of someone who's reviewing a game, and reviews are to a certain degree different for video games, because when you're reviewing, it often becomes like not only a critique of art, but a recommendation of, should you spend this $65 to $75 to $100 on this product? Is this worth your time? And when you have people who are reviewing a product, but in actuality they're just speed running through something, not properly trying to critique it, how much are they truly overlooking for the sake of trying to give a score at the end when it's time for them to put up a video, right? How much compromise is made there? You genuinely have to call that into question. I think a big example of that, and having to call that into question, came with Metal Gear Solid 5. Metal Gear Solid 5, in a nutshell, is a very great game. And it pushes the stealth genre forward in an incredible way, like no other game had done before since, I don't know, Metal Gear Solid, right? Metal Gear Solid 5 is incredible. However, they put all the reviewers through like this boot camp of having a week to beat the entire game, and crunching through this 80-hour something experience in such a short amount of time, and everything starts to blur together, and they're just trying to process how they feel. How many reviews did we watch for Metal Gear Solid 5 where people sat there at a table and they're like, well, I'm still processing my thoughts on how I felt about the overall experience, but this is a good game and worth your money. And then as time goes on, we sit there and we analyze what we actually consumed. We see a lot more of the flaws of actually, I think some missions are missing. Wait, why does the last third of the game repeat the same amount of missions over and over again? This wasn't really harped on before. Like, how does this happen? How did that happen? Where did it go right here? And this system doesn't make any sense. Every part of that in reviewing a game matters, from the amount of time that the reviewers have to what versions of the game they're allowed to play. All of these things make a difference, because I look at the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X versions of Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, and I'm like, did anybody review this at any of these places? Because did they really actually play it? Because you put any amount of time into it, the amount of bugs inside of that game are absolutely insane. It's one of the buggiest Call of Duties I've ever played in my entire life. So much so that I had to just get my money back because I couldn't play it anymore. The state of gaming journalism is slowly reaching this peak, this impasse, where we really have to call into question whether or not we can trust certain feedback from certain outlets, and all we can do is hope that we find essentially personalities whose, judgments, critiques, opinions that we value the most, that seem very similar to ours, and their tastes and interests are similar to ours, and they have our best interests at heart for where do we put our hard-earned cash in. And that's just what it comes down to. look, I understand people are always going to go out of their way to try to defend CD Projekt Red because they made one game that they really liked. But that doesn't take away from the fact that I truly think when the dust is settled on Cyberpunk 2077, we'll have a great game that was poorly managed. And we know it was poorly managed. When they had their conference calls shortly after the delay to the December date, what ended up happening? They said in that call, there's been some major restructuring that went on in the company after that. That is code for we had to fire some people and some people got demoted because they made poor decision making that led to us losing a lot of money for our investors and all the money that was wasted on marketing. So I think this is absolutely fascinating. I truly do think this is absolutely fascinating. And oh my God, my microphone is like peeling. There we go. And it's worth discussing because more and more we see people becoming more skeptical of reviewers, but at the same time we get upset when reviewers that we are skeptical of make claims that we don't agree with, right? And it's just so fascinating also, you know, you can only do so much to defend a game that you haven't played, or hate a game that you haven't played, or that hasn't been properly critiqued through or combed through. And let's be honest, with almost nearly every single review of this game that comes out day one, just go ahead and assume that it is like the most bare bones, bare minimum version of that experience, because all they wanted to do was finish the game as quickly as possible, right? I think no matter what way you cut it, the consumer suffers. I think on one hand, you know, the consumer is just straight up being lied to, you know, being shielded from what they're actually about to purchase. And then on top of that, you have consumers that are not getting honest reviews for their video games, or are getting the most shallow, bare bones reviews possible, right? And even to the consideration of people talking about, you know, should we consider bugs in our reviews, right? I think so. I think the optimization of a game truly matters and should affect the score at the end of the day. But regardless of whether or not you think it should or should not reflect the score at the end, it should be mentioned and it should be heavily critiqued and analyzed, because that's part of the experience, right? And you think about a game like Days Gone. That's a game I just started playing on Halloween is when I first picked it up and started playing it, because it was part of PlayStation Now. I was like, why not? And I'm just sitting there playing this game, and, you know, it's been patched to, you know, a very good amount. But I'm just sitting here playing this game, and I'm like, why did this game just get, like, brutalized in the reviews? I'm like, is it the most groundbreaking game ever been made? No, but it's fun, and for me, it functioned. But then again, you know, patches and all that stuff, yada, yada, yada. But it's fascinating. It's fascinating to see how we take into account bugs and how we do or do not take into account bugs, right? Because, I mean, look at a game like Assassin's Creed Unity. A game will get ripped apart for that. Fallout 76, you know? But at the end of the day, certain games are still going to have their staunch defenders. People are still going to buy those microtransactions. Very, very fascinating times that we live in, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very fascinating times indeed. I am upset as a consumer because I still do not know the proper experience that I will be getting on the PlayStation 5. And that upsets me. And to me, that warrants a lack of trust in the future from CD Projekt Red, in my personal opinion. It truly does. It truly does. And I know a lot of people are going to come to the defense of this game, man. They are. But for those of you who are watching this, who are clear-minded, level-headed, you know, big brain thinkers like I know you are, you know, 700 minimum IQ, you guys know that there's a lot more nuance and there's a lot more gray area in this discussion than we'd like there to be, but there is. And it's just something that I feel like we have to start talking about now because of how much games cost to buy, how much games cost when it comes to the mental health and the physical health of their employees who make these games. You got to call into question the quality of everything, from the quality of the product that we're getting to the quality of the reviews that we're getting. And I know a lot of people are saying, that's just a completely buggy mess is the state of what a AAA game is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be like that. Like I said, I only had 2 major bugs in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and for the most part, after that patch, it's been perfectly fine experience, and I've been loving it. Ghost of Tsushima, barely can think of a bug that I had in that game. Maybe a couple of texture pop-ins every once and again. Last of Us Part 2, a game whose story I hate. I hate the story to The Last of Us Part 2. But gosh darn it, if that is not one of the most technically superb games that I have ever played in my entire life, it's insane. Absolutely insane. Final Fantasy VII Remake, the worst thing I had, texture pop-in issues. That's it. You can have a AAA hyped up game that is not a complete mess. You can. It's all about the management. I think a lot of us have been fooled into thinking that because of the big headlines of every Fallout 76 that comes out, or every Anthem, or every Avengers, but not every game is like that, and we have to pay attention to that. We really do. And we have to call that out. Straight up, homie. Straight up! But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I think that overall summarizes my crash of thoughts. I don't even know what this motion meant, but my convergence of thoughts inside of my brain. I mean, this video isn't going to change anything. It's not going to change the status quo. People are still going to blindly buy whatever they want to buy and not wait to make sure it's going to be the proper experience or anything like that, or if it's going to be buggy and all that stuff, yada yada yada. Doesn't matter. People are still going to buy it anyways, and people are still going to play through it no matter what. And that's just the way the news goes, you know? I'm doing it because it's my job. But, you know, if I had a review copy in an alternate dimension where I get a copy of Cyberpunk 2077 before release, oh baby, baby, baby. There's no way I'm putting out that review until day one. There's no way I'm going to sit there and knowingly feed you all footage that is not representative of the experience that I had, or possibly of the experience that you have. That just doesn't fly with me. That just does not fly with me at all. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. I think this is an interesting discussion worth having when we're talking about journalistic integrity and how far is too far for the guidelines of a review from a company. These are genuine discussions we need to have because, I mean, more and more, if we don't have these discussions now, people are gonna keep pushing the line further and further. Scummy places like Activision and EA and all that sorts of stuff, they'll find whatever little way that they can to try to skirt the line of what is and is not okay when it comes to interactions with consumers. So I think these are important discussions. I truly do think these are important discussions. Whether or not you do or do not, you know, what your feelings are towards Cyberpunk 2077, I think we as a gaming community need to start asking some serious questions about what do we want from this symbiotic relationship between consumer, between producer of contents and reviewers and all sorts of stuff. These are important discussions worth having. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Catch me at twitch.tv/GeekSpeakGaming. We're normally streaming every kind of like Monday, Wednesday, Friday is what we've been doing lately. Of course, we're going to have a Thursday night stream starting at 10 p.m. And then also we're going to have a long Friday stream because we're also going to be watching the Game Awards together. So that's going to be fun. It's going to be very, very fun. But with that being said, guys, right now it's the Game Awards. The Game Awards is on Thursday. Never mind, Game Awards are on Thursday, so we're having a Thursday stream. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I'm Daniel, and don't forget to get geeky.